welcome to Boston College. Before we kick off our conference today, I would like to invite Father Collins Obada of the Society of Jesus. Father is a visiting scholar from Fordham University, working with me this summer and stepping up his game by coming here to Boston College to work with me. So with that, I would ask Father to come up and give us the invocation. Thank you, Father.
Distinguished guests, esteemed colleagues, and fellow cybersecurity professionals, let us pray. As we gather here today for this momentous Boston Conference on Cybersecurity, let us take a moment to reflect on the importance of our shared mission. In a world where technology has become the backbone of our interconnected society, the challenges we face is securing our digital landscapes are ever present. With each passing day, the threats we encounter evolve, becoming more sophisticated and relentless. Cyber attacks can potentially disrupt critical infrastructure, compromise sensitive data, and undermine our trust in our digital systems. But united in purpose, we stand firm in our commitment to protect and defend. Today, God has brought us together from diverse backgrounds, representing various sectors and industries, each with unique expertise and experiences. As we join forces, we recognize the power of collaboration, innovation, and knowledge, sharing in our collective fight against cyber threats. We ask God to give us the courage to draw upon the values that guide our work: integrity, vigilance, and resilience. We ask for the grace to embrace the spirit of continuous learning as we navigate the ever-changing threat landscape, adapt to new technologies, and anticipate emerging risks. May we find inspiration in the pursuit of excellence, leveraging our skills and expertise to safeguard the digital ecosystem that underpin our modern lives. As we engage in meaningful conversations, share insights, and forge new connections, may we foster a community of trust, cooperation, and collaboration. As we commence this 7th Annual Boston Conference on Cybersecurity here in Boston College, may our discussions be enlightening, our exchanges fruitful, and our actions impactful. May this gathering serve as a catalyst for innovation, driving us closer to the solutions we seek for the greater glory of God and humanity. Through God, who strengthens us, we invoke the spirit of unity and determination for the resilience and fortitude required to confront the ever-evolving challenges of our digital age. And let us gather the wisdom and insight to shape a more secure and trusted cyberspace. With gratitude for the opportunity to convene here today, let us embark on this conference with open minds, collaborative spirit, and a shared dedication to securing our digital world. We pray this conference may begin from you, Almighty God, and through you be happily ended. Amen. Thank you.
Thank you, Father. And when I said he's stepping up his game coming to Boston College, he's actually stepping up our game. Father is a cyber expert, and he's most welcome, and hopefully we can get the handcuffs on him and keep him here for a while. If all of you could please rise as we do the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Please be seated. Again, everyone, welcome to Boston College. On behalf of my dean, the Dean of the Woods College, Karen Muncaster, welcome. I want to first off acknowledge we have here today the U.S. attorneys from the state of Massachusetts, the District of Rhode Island, and the District of Maine. Most importantly, welcome FBI Deputy Director Paul Abbate and other senior leaders here from the military, private industry, trustees from Boston College, and fellow trustees from Boston College High School. My job today is to introduce the special agent in charge of FBI Boston, Joe Bonavolanta. Typically, I've introduced Joe at several different events, but this is a little bit different because this is the last time I'm going to introduce Joe as the special agent in charge of FBI Boston because he's retiring later this month. You throw a couple of jokes in there when you do the typical, like today, I'm like, Joe's done so much to rebuild this program, build it out. What better place to have it than this construction site of Gaston Hall? But I thought, no, that's not the way to go. I thought it would be more appropriate, as I worked it in, right? But I thought it would be more appropriate to really acknowledge Joe's service. And the way I want to do that is just really read Joe's official biography with the FBI. So with that, please listen along. Joseph R. Bonavolanta, Special Agent in Charge, Federal Bureau of Investigation, Boston Division. Appointed by FBI Director Christopher Wray as Special Agent in Charge of the Boston Division in 2019, Joseph Bonavolanta oversees all FBI operations in Maine, Massachusetts, New Hampshire, and Rhode Island. Previously, he served as Deputy Assistant Director for the FBI's Counterintelligence Division, a position he took on after helping lead the Boston Division, serving as an Assistant Special Agent in Charge from 2013 to 2017, overseeing the counterintelligence and cyber programs. A former Special Agent in the New York Field Office, Mr. Bonavolanta received the U.S. Attorney General's Director's Award for Superior Performance in 2005 for his contributions to the Bonanno La Costa Nostra family investigations. He has held a variety of other leadership, operational, and investigative positions during his FBI career, including serving as a program manager in the organized crime section at FBI headquarters in Washington, D.C., being promoted to Supervisory Special Agent of the Corporate Securities Fraud Squad at the Newark Field Office, and serving as the Section Chief for the FBI's Employee Development and Selection Program. Joe's been a great colleague. He's been a great friend. And on behalf of all of us here, Joe, thank you for your service to our community and to our country. And with that, it is my honor and privilege to welcome up to the stage the Special Agent in Charge of FBI Boston, Joe Bonavolanta.
Good morning, everyone. And I don't know if you remember, several of you were here last year, and I made it a point to nail down my remarks in my notes where the father at the time, after giving the invocation, accidentally scooped up my notes and brought it down with him, unbeknownst to me, and I had a little bit of a moment of panic there, so we're all secure. But thank you, Kevin, obviously, for the kind introduction, and for your continued partnership, and really over the last many years that we've known each other, your friendship as well, and thank you for that. And it's great to be back here at Gaston Hall to kick off the 7th Annual Boston Conference on Cybersecurity. And as you just heard, while this will be my last BCCS as the Special Agent in Charge of the FBI Boston Division, I'm hoping that it will not be my last one, as I look forward to returning next year as a member of the private sector, and that is, of course, if I actually make the cut on Kevin's list. So, hopefully, I can be a legacy with this thing, Kevin, moving forward. But to be serious just for a few minutes, today's cyber threats emanating from our nation-state adversaries and criminal actors are far too dynamic, pervasive, and destructive for us not to stay current on those seeking to harm us by targeting our networks and critical infrastructure. And I would like to first start by thanking the team here at Boston College, as well as FBI Boston Cyber Task Force, for all of their hard work in bringing together everyone here together to facilitate this incredibly important conversation between government, private sector, and academia. And many of you in this room have had experience putting together events like this, and it's no easy task, and they pull it off incredibly every year, and I want to thank them for that. And I would also like to personally thank FBI Deputy Director Paul Abbate for taking time out of his busy schedule to join us today. As you can imagine, it's no easy task in this climate to get him out of DC these days, but we managed to do it, and we're very grateful for that. And it's his presence here today that is a true testament to how significant the cyber threat really is. You know, at the FBI, we know, and as I myself have stated publicly many times before, that cyber risk is security risk and cybersecurity is national security. And there is no shortage of recent examples illustrating the wide-ranging economic and national security effects of cyber-related crimes. And as these threats increase, we ask all of you to continue to report cyber incidents and cyber-related frauds to us using our Internet Crime Complaint Center at ic3.gov so that we may continue to impose risks and consequences on malicious cyber actors. To put that into perspective, last year, Americans reported an unprecedented number of financial losses, more than $10.2 billion to cyber criminals. And if you think about that for a minute, especially since we know that these crimes are significantly underreported each year. And here in the FBI Boston Division, one of the FBI's largest field offices in the country, which encompasses the states of Maine, New Hampshire, Massachusetts, and Rhode Island, victims reported more than $298 million in losses specifically attributed to cyber crimes. So our Internet Crime Complaint Center tallies those losses and provides us with real-time data, which our agents and analysts use on a daily basis to aggregate loss amounts, and just as importantly, to help establish jurisdiction within the courts. And by reporting these incidents to us using this mechanism, we are able to achieve a better understanding of the threats that we face daily, and believe it or not, the information that you are providing helps us fill in important intelligence gaps while also helping to protect others from being victimized. Nationwide, while the number of reported ransomware incidents has slightly decreased, we know that not everyone who has experienced a ransomware incident has reported it. In fact, far from it. Ransomware remains a serious threat to the public and our economy, and FBI Boston continues to receive as many as 4 reports per week from new victims, and in some cases, they've suffered tens of millions of dollars in losses per individual report. Business email compromise scams and personal data breaches also continue to be widely reported to us and throughout the Bureau across the country. One new trend that we are seeing up here is that of a blended cyber and physical threat, where some ransomware actors have threatened swatting calls in their extortions, instilling real fear and diverting law enforcement resources away from actual emergencies. It's a trend that we're not just seeing a significant uptick in here in the New England area, but also in communities across the entire country. We're also continuing to see an uptick in cyber stalking cases, interestingly, at the high-level corporate executive level, all the way on down to the everyday citizens struggling with their personal relationships. And all too often, I'm asked if we're ever able to catch these criminals behind the schemes, and I can tell you that we have been successful thanks to our local, state, federal, and with ever-increasing performance, our international partnerships. Virtually every case that we're working right now within our cyber program, just within the FBI Boston Division, but I know this is the case across the country within the FBI cyber program, we're working alongside our international partners. And some of our most recent successes here in Boston were born out of our partnerships with all of you in the private sector, where corporate America not only identified a crime problem, but worked with us to mitigate it while we launched, when appropriate, criminal investigations to ensure those behind these schemes were held accountable. For example, we charged, arrested, extradited, and convicted a Nigerian man for conspiring with others in a variety of online fraud schemes, including phishing and romance scams that compromised the identities of unsuspecting victims. And 2 Massachusetts men were the first to be charged and later convicted in connection with a nationwide scheme to take over victims' cellular phone service. This technique enables the attacker to defeat multi-factor authentication of social media accounts and cryptocurrency exchanges and steal hundreds of thousands of dollars in cryptocurrency using an illegal practice known as SIM swapping. SIM swapping is another troubling trend on the rise, and our office was the first in the nation to charge individuals in connection with this crime. And I'm not going to steal the Deputy Director's thunder, but another area where we are hard at work as the war in Ukraine escalates is warning and working with companies right here at home that are being targeted by Russia. All of your efforts are critical to our ability to pursue the perpetrators behind these malicious cyber threats. And on behalf of FBI Boston, I can't thank you enough for your partnership in this fight, for helping us to protect you and your fellow citizens by sharing relevant intelligence. We all know, because that's why we're here today, and that's why we've been here each one of the last 7 years with the BCCS as we have seen it grow, that cybersecurity continues to be the ultimate team sport, and we're all in this together. And just on a personal note, I would really like to thank, everybody here, so many of you that I've developed relationships over the years. I want to give you a heartfelt thank you for just your rock solid partnership and in many cases friendship over the years. And I really, look forward to seeing this grow here with Boston College in this partnership over the next many years. And now I'm going to hand it over to another one of our integral partners with the BCCS, Boston College's Executive Vice President, Mike Lockhead. Mike.
Well, thank you, Joe. Well, good morning. Welcome to Gaston Hall and to Boston College for the 7th Annual Boston Conference on Cybersecurity. Before introducing the Deputy Director, Paul Abbate, please let me offer my special thank yous to our partners in academia, private industry, and the government sector for your support of our programs here at Boston College, and in particular for our cybersecurity program in the Woods College of Advancing Studies. Boston College, like many of our peers, conducts cutting-edge research and maintains important information on our faculty, students, alumni, and we go to great lengths to try to protect the integrity of that data. And protecting this information within an environment that values the free exchange of ideas, open access, and transparency is a challenge, particularly for those professionals charged with establishing policy and procedures that others must follow. The collaborative approach of this conference, which emphasizes that law enforcement, private industry, and academia must work together to ensure a secure cyber environment, reflects the hallmark of BC's Masters in Cybersecurity Policy and Governance program. I'm particularly grateful to Kevin Powers and his leadership of the Cybersecurity Policy and Governance program within the Woods College. An approved training provider for the U.S. Department of Homeland Security's National Institute for Cybersecurity Careers and Studies, the Woods College Cybersecurity Program aims to prepare professionals to design, develop, and implement cybersecurity strategies that defend against and ensure recovery from cyber attacks and to bridge the communication gap between information technology security professionals and key business stakeholders. And I can tell you firsthand that that's a very necessary skill, because most of us in the business profession need a little bit of an interpreter to understand some of the complexities of what's taking place. Today we are fortunate to have with us, and it is my honor to introduce the Honorable Paul Abbate, Deputy Director of the Federal Bureau of Investigation, to share his perspective on this important topic. Mr. Abbate joined the FBI as a special agent in 1996 and was assigned to the Criminal Division in the New York Field Office. He was also a member of the SWAT team. In 2003, Mr. Abbate was promoted to Supervisory special agent and transferred to the Iraq unit of Counterterrorism Division at FBI headquarters in Washington, D.C. He also deployed to Iraq in 2005 and served as the senior FBI liaison officer to the Department of Defense. In 2006, Mr. Abbate moved to the Newark field office in New Jersey, where he served on the Joint Terrorism Task Force. He later deployed to Afghanistan in 2008 and served as the FBI's deputy on-scene commander, where he led FBI counterterrorism operations and personnel. Mr. Abbate returned to the Counterterrorism Division in 2009 as an assistant section chief, providing oversight for the U.S.-based international terrorism investigations. The next year, he moved to the Los Angeles field office as the assistant special agent in charge of counterterrorism matters. He was promoted in 2011 to section chief in the Counterterrorism Division, providing an oversight to international terrorism investigations and counterterrorism operations outside of the United States. Mr. Abbate was appointed special agent in charge of the Counterterrorism Division in the Washington field office in 2012, and during this time he also served as the FBI on-scene commander in Libya. In 2013, Mr. Abbate was promoted to special agent in charge of the Detroit field office, and in 2015 was appointed assistant director in charge of the Washington field office, and near the end of 2016, appointed as the executive assistant director for the Criminal, Cyber Response, and Services branch at FBI headquarters. In this role, he was responsible for overseeing all FBI criminal and cyber investigations worldwide, international operations, critical incident response, and victim assistance. In 2018, he was named the FBI Associate Deputy Director, and in February 2021, the Deputy Director. As Deputy Director, he oversees all FBI domestic and international investigative and intelligence activities, and we are honored to have Mr. Abbate here with us today. Mr. Abbate.
Thank you, Mike, for that far too lengthy but very kind introduction. And good morning, everyone. It's an honor and a privilege to be here to join with you all today. Having grown up in the state of Connecticut, I have been in Massachusetts and to Boston many, many times, but it is my first time here at Boston College, and I feel very fortunate to be here. I want to begin by thanking Boston College for once again planning and hosting this event, now in its 7th year, as has already been noted, and for your continuing partnership and collaboration with the FBI. The relationship we share with Boston College would not be possible without the tremendous support we've received over the years from both Mike and Kevin. And I want to tell each of you and everyone involved, we from the Bureau are grateful and appreciative for that. I'd also like to thank Special Agent in Charge, Joseph Bonavolanta, who many people, as we've already heard, have had the privilege of working with while he served here as an Assistant Special Agent in Charge and as the SAC, as a leader of the Boston field office and throughout his career with the FBI. Joe and his team, each and every one of you, have always made FBI participation and support for this conference a top priority for the office, and it shows. It's shown over the years. Just as they have made it a priority to build strong partnerships with our many partners throughout the intelligence and law enforcement communities, the academic world, and with the private sector. As has already been referenced and noted, Joe is set to retire, sadly for us, but we're happy for him and his family, at the end of this week after a very distinguished career, which we've heard about as well, in the FBI. And obviously, while some might have been tempted to glide through an easy transition this week into the next chapter, not Joe. Clearly, he's working extremely hard up to the very last minute here with all of us to deliver once again on behalf of the Bureau. So I want to take this opportunity while here with all of you to publicly thank Joe on behalf of Director Wray, myself, and all of us in the FBI, again, for a long and incredibly successful career that he has dedicated to the FBI, to our great country, and to public service. So thank you, Joe, for all that you've done, all that you've given, and the sacrifices that you and your family have made to serve everyone. Thank you for that. Finally, I'd like to thank each of you for joining us here today and really for your contributions and collaboration on the important work we do together to keep people safe and to protect our country. As has also been noted, getting cybersecurity leaders like you, not just from government and the military, but also from the corporate world, learning and research institutions together for a day like this is really an invaluable opportunity for us to talk about the threats and the trends we're all seeing, and importantly, the best ways and what we're all doing to get ahead of and defeat them. So I'd like to start off with a brief discussion of where the FBI sees the cyber threat today. We've already heard a little bit about that. And then get into how we're changing our calculus to have the most impactful results against the threat and the adversaries, and about the tools we all rely upon to get the job done. All of us here know that today's cyber threats hit a wider array of victims and carry the potential for greater damage than ever before. The threats are evolving rapidly, and the stakes have never been higher. And more, it's becoming difficult to discern where cyber criminal activity ends and adversarial nation-state activity begins, as the line between the two has become increasingly blurred and hybrid models between the two have begun to emerge. Over the past 2 years, the FBI has seen a wider than ever range of malicious cyber actors lawlessly threatening our country, U.S. economic and national security, and our people, our citizens. Today, we're investigating more than 100 different ransomware variants, each with scores of victims, wreaking havoc on business operations, causing devastating financial losses, and targeting everything from hospitals to emergency services to the energy and other critical infrastructure sectors and state and local government components as well. At the same time, we're dealing with a host of unique threats from nation states aimed at disrupting and undermining our democratic society and the freedoms we all value so much. Foreign adversaries like the governments of, and I'm call them out whenever we get a chance, China, Russia, Iran, and North Korea use cyber operations to illegally achieve their strategic, economic, political, and other objectives. These include straight-up financial gain, theft of information and intellectual property, malign influence campaigns, and advanced preparations to disrupt our critical infrastructure. They're growing stealthier as well, and they're constantly developing new ways to compromise networks and get the most reach and impact out of their operations. China, in particular, poses a highly formidable threat on the cyber front on a scale that is unparalleled among foreign adversaries. It has a bigger hacking program than every other major nation combined, and it has stolen more U.S. personal and corporate information data than all other nations, big or small, combined. To give you a sense of the scale of the threat posed on cyber by the government of China, if we took each one of the FBI's special agents and intelligence analysts and focused on it exclusively, Chinese hackers would still outnumber FBI cyber personnel by at least 50 to 1. Striking comparison. But the government of China is not the only hostile nation state using cyber attacks to take aim at U.S. victims. This time a year ago, hackers sponsored by the Iranian government were in the news when, as the director revealed right here, a particularly appalling cyber attack they'd attempted in 2021 on the Children's Hospital right here in Boston became known. Fortunately, before they could successfully launch that attack, we received a tip from a partner, as we often do. And by working closely with the hospital team and staff, we were able to identify and defeat the threat, protecting both the network and the patients who were depending on it for life, health, and safety. This case reflects the very real life and death consequences that the cyber threat now poses within certain circumstances. It is, in fact, in some cases, a life and death proposition. In addition to China and Iran, the cyber threat posed by Russia has also recently come to the forefront. Since the Russian invasion of Ukraine began, we've taken unprecedented steps to identify, report on, and take action to help and assist in addressing cyber threats targeting Ukraine. And that built on years of close and cooperative work we had done and continue to do with Ukrainian partners to combat Russian cyber threats. And that is not just because we're trying to be good international partners. It's also because while Russia's invasion may be taking place halfway around the world, its effects can be felt right here at home. We've seen, for instance, Russia conducting reconnaissance on the U.S. energy sector, among other critical infrastructure. That is particularly worrisome because we know that once access is established, a cyber actor can switch from information gathering to attack very quickly and often without notice. So we've been working with our partner agencies to provide advance warning and work with companies being targeted by Russia. And that work is being carried out by FBI field offices across the country, including right here in Massachusetts and the surrounding states. Because even when a threat is global in nature, the response to it, we all know, must take place at the local level to be the most effective. We've also been providing our public and private sector partners with defensive briefings very routinely to help keep their data and networks safe from Russian cyber attacks, declassifying and sharing as much information as possible to keep victims informed as the threat continues to evolve. Just last month, we dealt another blow to Russia's cyber apparatus. Leveraging technical capabilities of our tremendous cyber personnel in the Bureau and our strong partnerships across the board, we conducted a court-authorized operation to dismantle a long-standing cyber tool utilized by the Russian government known as Snake. This was sophisticated malware that Russia's security service, known as the FSB, had used for long-term intelligence collection on very sensitive targets like journalists, research facilities, and government networks across nearly 50 countries. As cyber threats have been evolving, we have had to keep up with and ahead of them as well, and change quickly and adapt. Traditionally, the Bureau measured success mostly in arrests, the number of criminals we put behind bars. Things have changed. The cyber strategy that Director Wray announced in 2020 now keeps us focused on disrupting not just the actors, but also the infrastructure, the technical infrastructure they rely upon, and their money and profits derived. So while we're still committed to identifying the criminal actors working with our partners to arrest them, whether it is here in the U.S. or abroad, we are now just as focused on what we can seize by way of the funding and the money, what we can disable by way of the infrastructure, in order to disrupt attacks before they occur and to glean intelligence and work to prevent future harm. And we are equally intent on making cybercrime less profitable and taking away the funds used to run these illicit operations. As an example, in January, the Bureau announced the culmination of a 1.5-year-long campaign to disrupt the Hive ransomware group. As you all know, Hive's attacks were voluminous, extensive, and financially devastating to many victims. The group extorted victims around the globe for over $110 million in ransom payments. But last July, we took the fight to the group, to them. Our field office in Tampa gained access to Hive's control panel for 7 months, We exploited that access to help victims throughout that time while keeping the Hive actors in the dark about what our team was doing. We used it to identify Hive's targets and offered more than 1,300 of those potential victims keys to decrypt their infected networks, preventing at least an estimated $130 million in ransom payments. In collaboration with European partners, we then seized control of the servers and websites Hive used to communicate with its members, shutting down the operation and their ability to attack and extort any further victims. A tremendous success. That's just one example of how we have shifted our thinking when it comes to operationalizing cyber strategy. With that, we are still putting a lot of criminals and cyber criminals in jail with the help of our U.S. Attorney's Office. Thank you for your partnership as well. Because we know that sometimes the best way to stop an ongoing threat and to bring justice is through an arrest. But other times, and in combination, the answer is to seize or dismantle the adversary's infrastructure and help victims recover. Adopting this strategy has allowed the FBI to usher in really a new era for our cyber program, one accompanied by a focus on what is most essential to combating cyber threats, and that's the who, the what, and the why that underpins our work together. First, with regard to the who, it means going after the biggest targets, the platforms, administrators, and users who are causing the greatest degree of damage. Second, the what. That means playing offense by prioritizing and taking on operations of extraordinary size and scope. And third, the why. That means ensuring the bold moves we're taking together inform and elevate the overarching strategy. All three aspects that I just mentioned were on display this past spring. First, in late March, we struck a serious blow to the cybercrime ecosystem with an operation targeting a platform known as breach forums. Likely the world's biggest data leak platform at the time, breach forums hosted a large group of what are known as initial access brokers. Those brokers traffic in stolen data that cybercriminals can use to launch ransomware attacks, gain unauthorized access to systems, steal intellectual property, and conduct tens of millions of dollars of theft and fraud. Breach forums had more than 300,000 members looking to make use of billions of pieces of individualized data that had been illicitly obtained in individual records, hosted and offered to those criminals on the site. Once we put its founder in jail, the platform shut down because its new administrator, the successor, said that he could no longer operate safely in the criminal environment. So imagine a cyber criminal selling millions of dollars worth of victim stolen data, worried about his safety. Unbelievable. Less than 2 weeks after the breach forums operation, the Bureau took down another initial access broker called Genesis Market, a global criminal marketplace used to steal and sell victim account credentials, things like usernames and passwords for email, bank accounts, and social media. Genesis Market sold those on a vast scale, giving users access to more than 1.5 million different compromised computer systems and holding over 80 million access credentials. We again conducted a coordinated operation with our international and domestic partners from both government and the private sectors to seize Genesis Market, make more than 100 arrests in that case, and shut the platform down. So what makes these takedowns different from what we've done in the past? It comes back to the who, the what, and the why. As for the who, the platforms and the people pursued, breach forums and Genesis Market were key players in the cybercrime environment, and specifically in the initial access broker space. Now, it is nearly impossible to overstate the outsized role those brokers play as key enablers of cybercrime as a service. Selling access to other cyber criminals, access to corporate networks, stolen credentials, and other data stolen from victims. The access these marketplaces offer is the lifeblood of many other types of cybercrime and crime generally. So breach forums and Genesis Market were two of the largest sources of initial access, and now through the work we've done together and around the world, both have been taken down and dismantled. We're going after the biggest players in that ecosystem, and we're pursuing more than just the key administrators. With operations targeting Genesis Market, the Bureau collected information that helped identify and arrest many of the users of these illicit services too. The users who likely caused tens of millions of dollars in financial losses. And they and their victims were located in countries all around the world. That brings us to the second thing that sets these takedowns apart, and that is the what. The scope of these operations and that which was accomplished is unprecedented. Disrupting and dismantling Genesis Market required carefully planned and coordinated worldwide operations, ones that we could not conduct alone. We relied heavily on international partnerships, collaborating with our law enforcement counterparts in more than a dozen countries, as well as with Europol and Eurojust, to collect intelligence, identify infrastructure, and coordinate a global takedown of the marketplaces for the maximum impact. Because victims could be found in virtually every country in the world, including in the United States, and we relied on our field office across the country to help drive that operation as well. Here in Boston, for example, personnel in this field office pursued leads across Massachusetts, Maine, New Hampshire, and Rhode Island, typically working in tandem with state and local law enforcement partners. The end result was the biggest takedown the FBI has ever conducted of criminals dealing in stolen digital credentials. And that brings us to number 3, the why. With these takedowns, we've operated and will continue to operate globally to take action against cybercriminal threat actors wherever they may be. Because continuing to put pressure on the adversary is a huge and important part of the overall strategy. It is all part of the proactive, disruptive spectrum of activities we're taking against cyber threat actors and the illicit services that support that activity. With regard to the wide range of cyber threats I mentioned earlier, we're taking aim at the entire ecosystem that supports and enables it, from ransomware to nation states' dangerous and illegal conduct, to business email compromise and elder fraud schemes and everything in between. Without the services of platforms like breach forums and Genesis Market, it will be much harder for criminal actors to engage in illegal cyber activities. Of course, given the range of threats we're facing and the pace at which they're evolving, we need to make the best use of every tool at our disposal and in our arsenal in order to stay ahead. Primary among those, as we've seen woven throughout the examples, are the partnerships we share throughout law enforcement, with international allies in the intelligence community, with the academic community, with the private sector, and with the communities we serve. For instance, the Cyber Criminal Squad here in Boston, like most others, conducts nearly every one of its active investigations in conjunction with international partners. The office's great cyber task force, like those in every field office across the country, includes federal, state, and local law enforcement partners who bring to bear and share their resources, authorities, and capabilities in support of the work that we do together to keep people safe. And through robust outreach in every field office, we work hard to build and maintain relationships with businesses and with academic institutions to share information, respond to cyber incidents, and help lock down network defenses. Now, aside from those more traditional tools which we've covered and we use to support our cyber work, we also rely on the authorities under the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act, also known as FISA, and specifically FISA Section 702. Our use of 702, while not well known, has received increased attention recently. And I want to take a moment to shed some light on what it means for the Bureau, for the intelligence community, for law enforcement, and the mission that we all share. Section 702 enables the FBI to identify, investigate, and mitigate threats to our homeland coming from foreign adversaries operating outside of our borders. When dealing with cyber threats, 702 is a tool we use to collect foreign intelligence by targeting, say, a hacker located in China, a non-U.S. citizen located outside of the United States who is not covered by the constitutional protections we enjoy as Americans. 702 further allows the FBI to lawfully run searches against that collection and see who that foreign-based hacker may be working with in the United States, and to identify potential victims who might even know that they've been compromised or that they're being targeted, and to warn those who may be targeted next. It is how we connect the dots between foreign threats and targets here in the U.S. using information already within U.S. government holdings, information that was previously lawfully obtained. FISA 702 enables agility and efficiency, and it is absolutely, and I can't overstate this, critical for the FBI and our partners to continue protecting the American people and our country to the greatest degree possible, not just from cyber attacks, but also from terrorist attacks, from foreign spies, and from a host of other hostile foreign threats. So the bottom line is this: 702 is up for renewal by Congress at the end of this year, and we cannot afford to lose it. So to make sure we're using these authorities under FISA 702 correctly and appropriately, we've put in place an entire slate of important reforms to our processes, to our electronic systems, to our training, and to our oversight, and we're committed to being good stewards of this tool and to using it transparently to ensure the public's trust and the greatest protection. Because considering the complexity and severity of the cyber threat alone, not to mention all the others, we need every tool that we can lawfully bring to bear in the fight. We're no doubt up against a host of incredibly daunting threats and challenges. We've covered those today. And the Bureau, like all of you, each of you, is doing its very best to evolve and innovate as quickly as the adversary in order to stay ahead. But with successes like those we've been seeing, and with the valuable partnerships that we have with each of you, indispensable, the outlook from our point of view is positive, and we are highly, highly optimistic, meaning our chances of success working together are great. Thank you for your work and your commitment to collaboration, to partnership, to cybersecurity, to protecting our country and keeping people safe. We in the Bureau are honored to work alongside each and every one of you, and we're grateful for everything that you all bring to the fight. So thank you all, and with that, I'll take a few questions if there are any. Thank you all.
Thank you, sir. What we're going to do is take some questions from the crowd. What we want to make sure is the questions aren't open to the media. You'll have time later on to ask questions to Special Agent in Charge Joe Bonavolanta. But here, keep it focused on the topic at hand. Don't go off track. So with that, does anyone have any questions for the FBI Deputy Director?
Yes, sir.
Mark Mayberry.
First of all, thank you so much.
Thank you. Yeah, as I mentioned, we've had a long history of work with and coordination, collaboration with the government of Ukraine. It's a long-standing partnership, and one that, importantly now, as the invasion occurred and continues to occur, we're going to continue to meet that commitment as a great partner to that country and to its citizens and leadership. You noted the private sector played really an incredible role, maybe even to a greater degree than government in some ways, in providing information, in really helping to put Ukraine in a position to defend itself. And the fallout and the destruction, while there was some, we believe could have been much substantially greater had that that communication and the information sharing and the flow that occurred like never before seen between private sector here in the United States particularly and a foreign government. It really helped put them in a position to even better protect themselves, even with the long history of attacks that have been experienced there. And you know, we played a role in that. We continue to as well in helping move the information. We have personnel who've been stationed there for a long time. Our legal attachés, assistants, intelligence analysts are there, and they're in the fight, and they're helping bring those partnerships, communications together, move the information that's needed to prevent attacks in advance. And everyone's been able to draw upon the history prior to that to apply now to get ahead of it. And but we can never be complacent in that. No one can, because the potential for destruction and death is happening every day and continues, and we've got to stay focused and disciplined in staying true to that partnership and continuing to move information and helping put them in the best position to defend themselves. Thank you for the question.
Any other questions?
Yes, sir. I think we're already seeing it. You know, the adversarial nation states that we mentioned and discussed here are working to apply those technologies and many others in a destructive fashion, and it's we're working hard to counter that and stay ahead of it, as we are with all the types of threats of varying types that we're trying to stay ahead of. You look at China as an example, as we noted, that government, that country has swept up a huge swath of information, both personal and government and private sector, and they're using tools like artificial intelligence to apply to that to figure out how, you know, the most advantageous ways to attack our country, our citizens, and to undermine our society. They're using it against those of us that work in government, in military, in the intelligence community, even in law enforcement, to target those individuals, to do harm, to try to recruit, and a variety of very threatening activities and criminal activities to take advantage of what's in all of that data. And again, it goes back to application of technical tools and technologies like you mentioned. So we have a very focused effort within the Bureau and extending out to our partners in the intelligence community, particularly to bring those tools to bear in the work that we do to protect and to prevent, and then to counter our adversaries in the way they're applying those things against us. And we're going to stay focused on that as well. Thank you.
All right. Out of respect for the Deputy Director's schedule, we're going to stop with questions, and I'm just going to come up and give you a token of our appreciation for you coming here. Thank you so much.
Okay, thanks.
many of you know this, many of you might not, but this is your second time here. 2 out of the last 3 keynotes here at Boston College, 1 virtual, and that was key to it all. We always talked, and Joe always mentioned, if we get to the 5th year, this thing's real and it's going to continue on. And we almost didn't get there due to COVID. In 2021, we were toying with the idea of just shelving it and persevering on later, and I think that would have killed the program. Like many stores or coffee shops closed, we could have closed. But we didn't, and thanks to the deputy, he virtually provided the keynote, and that really provided the bridge when last year we planned for March. Omicron kicked in, but because we had that 5th year, we were able to kick in on June of last year. We had the director, and now we have the deputy director. So with that, what we did, and I loved how Mike Locke had talked about our cutting edge research. We really tried to figure out a way, like, how can we get the deputies something they can actually keep? In the government, you can buy anything, and they're like, oh, it's less than 20, it's more than $20, I can't keep it. So based on our crackerjack cutting edge research, beginning with me calling Joe and saying, like, hey, what is the deputy director like? Like, golf. I'm like, all right, it's golf, we got something. And then with more research, I went down to the BC bookstore, and what I did is I found this beautiful, one of the top items, golf items here to get him. Yeah, and then it came down to how does he get to keep it? Well, when I went to pay, I went there and I first used my employee discount. Then I used my parent discount, my military discount, my disabled veteran discount, and then finally my AARP discount. And because of that, I not only got this, I had a credit, and we were able to get him some BC golf balls. In all seriousness, we really don't discount you coming here. And actually, what you did is, truly priceless. It is, because you saved everything here, and it is truly priceless. And we would have you back here at any cost on our behalf, because we really appreciate everything you did for Boston College.
Thank you.
Thank you. This is great too.
If I can say one more thing. This is very stylish, and I'll be representing Boston College now, down in Washington, D.C. Hey, just thank you all again for the time today. Thank you for all the work we do together and everything you do to protect people as well. I just want to say, stay well, be safe, and God bless you all. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.